Okay, now I'm going to show you how to use the extrude tool to make simple shapes. So you can see on my screen right here, I have a picture of a part that we're going to go ahead and model. A couple things to note about this part. First of all, this part is made up of 3/4 inch cubes. So each cube is 3/4 inch all along each side, up and down, all the way around. The second thing to note about this is that this puzzle piece in particular is not universally thick. That means the thickness from top to bottom here to here is different than the thickness from top to bottom here on this way, and all the different directions, they're not universally thick. So I can't just take this piece and extrude it out. I can't cut it out of a single piece of material. So what I'm going to have to do is this two-step process in order to make this part. So in Autodesk Inventor, I'm going to go ahead and open a new part file. And the first thing you have to do before you can create an extrusion, before you can create something that's three-dimensional, is you have to start with something that's two-dimensional. So we're going to start with a 2D sketch. And again, Autodesk Inventor needs to know, where do you want to put this sketch? So I can put it on this plane and extrude up and down. I can extrude it here, left and right, back and forth. I'm going to put it on this plane. Just like that. Now to start, because this shape right there, it's not a square or a rectangle, so I'm going to use a series of lines to create this kind of T shape right here. So I'm going to do a line. I'm going to always start at the origin so that it's anchored in space somewhere. If I just click out somewhere, then the shape can move even if it's fully constrained. And I'm just going to outline the general shape. Now you notice right away it says 90 degrees. That gives me a right angle. If I go here, it'll change that angle. And then that constraint right there, that picture on the right side, right over there, pops up to tell me those two lines are going to be perpendicular and will always be perpendicular if I click with it like this. Add that requirement in there. I'm going to go up, I don't know, about that far. That far, go across, and then up. I want these to be 90 degrees, so I'm going to click when it says 90 degrees. I want those two to line up. Now, if I line them up like this and click, that means those 2 points are going to be on the same horizontal line forever. I want that to happen, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Same horizontal line. And also line that up there and finish where I started. Now, you see when I close that loop and finish back where I started, now I don't have a line anymore. I can create a new line like this, but I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to click right click and then click OK. So I have the general shape for the bottom piece of this. See that T shape right there? But now I need dimensions. Now the rule of thumb is to always start with the largest dimension. So I'm going to click dimension. And I can do this two ways. For this piece, I can just click this line, this purple line, and drop down and put that number in. Now I know that I have 3 blocks and they're all 3/4 of an inch long. And I know I can do the math in my head. That's 2.25 inches. But I can also put this in as a math equation. So I can write in 2.25 inches like that to get the right size. Or I can click on the bottom and click on the top, put a dimension between those. And I can say that I want this to be 2 times 0.75 inches, and it will do the math for me. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of my dimensions. That one should be 0.75. And this one should be 0.75. And let's see, that one, 0.75. And once I put this all in, I can see in the bottom right-hand corner that I'm fully constrained. All my lines are now purple or blue. They're not green anymore, so that means I'm good to go. It's finished. So I'm going to finish that sketch. So you can see this sketch. Now I'm going to go ahead and give this some thickness. And it's going to extrude that whole piece up. This says 1 inch. I actually want 0.75. And I can click OK. Get it from another view. Like that. So you can see it's three-dimensional from this isometric view. Now this piece has another little block on the top. So we're going to go ahead and add that. So I need to create another 2D sketch. Now I want to start from this surface and move up. Now that I have some surfaces on there, instead of just the XYZ planes that we can see here that we started with, we can also use these as planes, as long as they're flat. If they're curved, we can't use them as planes. They're not planes, but we can use them as flat. So I'm going to start a 2D sketch. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the top right there. And for this one, I have a square, so I can put that in. Let's do a 2-point rectangle. And I want it to start right here in this corner and go to that one right there. Click OK, so I've got my rectangle. I can put in my dimension from here to here. And it should be 0.75, just like that. And I'm fully constrained. Now notice, it's a square. I didn't require that it would be a square. But if I press this button, F8 right here, it'll show me my constraints. So one of the constraints I have right here is this. It's a square on top of a box. Basically, that is telling me that this point right here has to be on this corner. That's the constraint that it added automatically. And there's another one right there. It says that this point right here has to be on this yellow line. And that's why those yellow lines are showing up, is because I'm referencing them as constraints. So mine fully constrained. I'm going to click F9 to turn these off. I don't really need them. And then I finish the sketch. So now I can do an extrude, and it's going to extrude that block 0.75, just like so. And there I've got my piece. Let's flip them over. Wrong way. There we go. So it looks just like that piece right there. You can see. Close that out. Now let's do another piece. I'm going to add this piece on top, actually. Let's say we need to cut out a square through here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start with a 2D sketch, and I'm going to show you how to do an extruded cut. So we'll do a rectangle. Just like that. Don't forget to dimension him. Now I need a location for this guy. Here's a cool thing I can do. I can line him up so he's in the middle. What I can do is I can take my horizontal constraint right here. It's a horizontal line. Click on that. And if I hover over the middle of this line, it'll pop up with a green dot, and I can click on it. And I can do the same thing over here, and those will line up horizontally. So this will be in the middle. Now for this side, I want a vertical constraint because we're talking up and down. So vertical, vertical. And you can see in the corner that I'm fully constrained. I'm going to finish that sketch. And this time, instead of pulling a piece and pulling it out, I'm going to cut in. The way you do this is exactly the same as we do when we're trying to get a piece. So we're going to click on Extrude. Now here, I have multiple loops. I have multiple profiles that I can cut or extrude. So I need to click inside the one that I want. And I want to cut this square out. So I'm going to click inside of it. And so initially, it joins a piece. Right here, this button is depressed. It says join. What I want to do is I want to cut. So now you can see this is cutting inside the part. It's making it hollow. Now this is just going a distance of 0.75, but I can also change it. If I wanted to go all the way through, I can change my distance to all, and it'll go all the way through the part. No matter how big I make this part, that hole will go all the way through. So that's a handy thing to have. And I'm going to click OK. And then you can see my extruded cut. Now this took me 3 steps to make this whole part, and that is fine. We want multi-steps. Sometimes you will not be able to do everything in one step. If it's not uniformly thick, or if there's a cutout through part of it, you are going to want to do it this way. You're going to do either an additive process where you put 2 pieces together, like we did with 1 and 2 here, or a subtractive process like we did in 3. We took part away from that. And that is how you extrude.